Can we communicate with our ascended loved ones, ancestors? How about lost souls? Do they really reach out to us in different forms of communication? We're going to talk about that today. And comment, share your experiences. So, loved ones reach out in many different ways, but we also have millions of testament to connecting with our ancestors. So be it your child who has transitioned, a parent, grandparent, best friend, even colleague, and people that you've never met in this lifetime. Trust and believe you are in receipt of communication, conversation with them. And that is whether you want it or not. And so we're always going to suggest at Spiritual Guidance Academy to practice spiritual safety. It is non-negotiable. And I won't go into the ways in this video. However, in another video I will. And I strongly suggest you get on over to your Etsy shop, Spiritual Superstars, and pick up your tools to play it safe. So no one human being can ever say they know all there is to know about spirituality. And I always tell our spiritual superstars and my personal clients, take what people say with a grain of salt. You have a personal, private connection with our higher power. Whether that is God, Allah, Jehovah, Jah, Divine Source, the Holy Spirit, you have a direct connection because you are part human, which is physical dense matter, right? And you are soul energy, your spiritual energy. And you, dear love, are the soul within your human, who is your home away from your spiritual home of origin. And so when you are in communication, and sometimes energy does reach out to you without your permission, and that is a definite no-no depending on the variations of energy. Okay, so always know that. You want to be in control of your actions and your reactions, because we don't control energy. And anyone that has told you you can control energy is lying to you, plain and simple. It is not true. You cannot control energy. You can, however, transform energy. And so as people die, as death occurs, it is simply a transition of energy. It is a transformation of matter. And so that dense matter that is in human form then becomes original light energy, soul energy in spiritual form. Yes, our loved ones reach out in so many different ways, and you will recognize their presence through your clairs. or spiritual gifts. You have senses, and you will feel their presence. We call that spiritually guided spiritual communication. It is a term that I have coined because I know it very well, and I teach it at Spiritual Guidance Academy. You will feel the tingling, the itching, the burning, the radiating waves of sensation, the energy riding up and down your spine. You will feel like you just walked into a cobweb, or the temperature in the room drops. You get goosebumps. You feel a gust of air when there's no fan, or nothing by human sight went by you or is around you. Yet, you feel a presence. You can actually sense the height, the girth, the weight. You can actually see through your spiritual sight or sixth sense or mind's eye the unseen, which is that energy. And it will come through in many different shapes and sizes, colors and hues, patterns, vibrations, and it may resemble your ascended loved one as they were in this physical plane. And the tricky part about when spirits reach out and communicate is you have to understand the fact that we don't control energy means you have to practice spiritual safety, because demons reach out as well, and they are within the spiritual realm. And so the number one rule here is always understand that you have a direct, personal, private connection with our Creator. And so when these occurrences happen, call on the Holy Spirit for confirmation, for help, because it is a very scary experience most of the time. And it can be a wonderful, exciting, joyful experience that brings you peace and joy. I'll give you an example, too, pertaining to my mama, who is transitioned on. And certainly comment down below and tell me what you think. But while she was here of the living, she mentioned, well, Nicole, I just send lost souls to you. And she knew that that's a part of my work. I have helped many lost souls go on and serve the next chapter of their life eternal in the Abba Kingdom. And I have been in communication with spirits since I was a little girl, before I could talk. And she, being my mama, could see that communication before I understood that it was seen as not normal to many eyes, but normal, quite natural to those of us generationally who are seers, visionaries, psychics, mediums, medicine men, and medicine women. And so she mentioned, I send them to you. And I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "Well, Nikki, I'm not comfortable with them coming to me." And she was referring to the lost souls. And I said, "Well, I understand, because I was more comfortable than she was in our gifts." And so I said, "Well, what is it like for you?" And she said, mostly they would come to her when she was washing her face and she was saying her prayers. And her eyes would be closed. She would be washing her face with both of her hands while praying. And you have seen that where people are praying with open hands, washing their face and bowing down, rising back up, bowing down. And so she was showing supreme humility and respect to our Creator. And the visions would come to her and look directly at her. When she would open her eyes, she would see them. When she would close her eyes, she would see them. And she would literally tell them, "Go to God. Go to the white light. Go to the bright light. Go to Nicole. She will help you. She will help you get to God." What? I said, "Mom, I never knew that." She said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, they sure are coming." And it was remarkable because she knew that the number one thing for me has always been to practice spiritual safety. Once I acknowledged my gifts and accepted them as a part of this lifetime, and the charge that I was gifted with, and the responsibility to teach others to master their gifts and to help lost souls transition. And they were coming back to back. And so for me, they would come a lot of times when I was either doing my work, reading for someone else, for a client, meditating, in the shower, taking a bath, or what other time? I would just be having my coffee or tea, looking out in the backyard, getting ready to do a reading or a video on social media. And at that time, I would be grounding myself. I would be in pure submission to God, protecting myself, guarding my energy, yet humbling myself and purifying my energy and preparing for my work. And here they would come. And so my mom herself, her energy has reached out multiple times. And so your loved ones, our ancestors, will come to you. She herself, I'll talk about ancestors in another video, but she has immediately, from the time she transitioned, she came to me. When she transitioned from this lifetime to the Abba kingdom, or back into the spiritual realm, she came to me, and immediately I knew that she had just left her earthly body. And I cried out to her, "Mama." And she said, "I'm here." And I said, "Did you transition?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Oh, Mama, how are you? You okay?" She said, "I'm fine, Nicole. I'm happy." So And she acknowledged the way that she would reach out to me. And I asked her, how will you reach out? And she said she would blink the lights. And I said, you'll blink the light? And she said, yes, by blinking the light. And I said, was that you? She blinked the light. And I said, okay. And she told me, spiritually, I could hear her talking to me to go explain that to my children. And as soon as I did that, she started blinking a light that had never been lit. The light bulb had never come on before. It was a 2 light bulb fixture. And as soon as I told my children that Nana had transitioned, but she will be with us and she will help us go through our grieving, and we will know she's with us because she will blink the lights. And so she will be in direct communication with us. And I remember my daughter said, she'll blink the lights. I said, yeah, she will blink the light. And as soon as I said that, the light started blinking like crazy. And it just silenced us, because in 3 years that light had never blinked once. Never turned on. Remember, it was a 2 light bulb fixture, but the other light bulb was as bright as could be. But at that very moment, the other light bulb that had never blinked before, never turned on, started blinking. And that's what she's done from that point on. Our ancestors will allow us, as well as ascended loved ones, your child, your parent, your friend, people you've never met in this lifetime, spirits that have transitioned on that were people you never met, will let you know through your spiritual gifts, your clairs, your clear smelling, your clear taste, your clear hearing, your clear seeing. So you may taste the brownies or the cookies that Nana used to bake for you. You may taste the dish that you used to cook for your son. You may taste the food that you used to go eat with your best friend at that restaurant. You may smell it if you two love to go to Thai food or Vietnamese food or Indian food or hamburgers or whatever you used to love to do or whatever you used to love to eat. You can smell that and you'll know their presence is there. You have an overwhelming urge, like one of our spiritual superstars in one of our group meetings shared, that she had an overwhelming sensation to buy a daisy or a sunflower, and she bought that sunflower, got back in her truck, put the sunflower on her dashboard, and felt her cousin's presence, and that was her best friend. And in that, it was a class, I think it was a private class, a program, a course that I was teaching. And in that course, immediately I could feel her cousin's presence and I could hear her giving a message. And I'd already said no messages, no readings in our courses, because our spiritual superstars are very gifted and you are very giving and loving, and you want to just share that spiritual guidance, that download that you receive. But I'm also teaching tact, and there's a time and a place for that, and often that message doesn't need to be shared or doesn't need to be shared at that moment. And there's other spiritual guidance and there's other cues to pay attention to. And it was so overwhelming. I had to ask permission. There's a message coming through very, very loud and clear. And I truly feel the need and believe that this is to be said right now. And so I shared it with her, and it was her cousin. I said her name starts with a C, and I was stumbling over the name, and she belted it out right then and there and burst into tears and laughter at the same time. And I said, well, and the name was very close to what I was trying to pronounce. And she said, I know exactly who it is. And I said, well, she said that when you see sunflowers, that is her. She is with you. And she just burst into a scream and just started crying profusely and just said, Nicole, I knew you were gifted, but I knew I could expect the best from this program, but you have totally blown me away. And, she just was overwhelmed because she had just gone and purchased a sunflower at the guidance and desire of her cousin because she had been missing her. And so, yes, can we reach out once we transition into the spiritual realm? The answer is yes.